Ancient Chinese classic meaning Liaozhai. Today's story is Liaozhai is Chen Yunxiu. The author is Songling. The form of adaptation. Painting for Xu Jing. Su Zifeng. Li Fu Bao. There was a young man named Zhen Yusheng in Yiling, Hubei. His father was a local man. Zhen Yusheng was very good at writing and elegant demeanor. So less than 20 years old has been very famous. There are a lot of local people want a matchmaking for Zhen Yusheng. But his father and mother love their sons very much. Make a high not low. Not a time Zhen Yusheng in Huanggang. His grandmother's home happened to hear that there is a nearby EP02 and 4 nuns are very beautiful. Do not feel that the heart of the move. His grandmother's home from EP02, just to come all the way. One day, he had nothing to do, and secretly ran. Zhen Yusheng came to the door of and called, "Open the door." I really saw 4 Taoist nuns look very elegant, wearing also extremely clean. Inside these 4 Taoist nuns there was the youngest one, who looks the most beautiful. And it would be hard to find anyone prettier than her in the world. He propped up his face with his hand, reading a book, and ignored the other Taoist nuns of Zhen Yusheng. Some went to fetch teacups. Some went to burn tea. Zhen Yusheng took advantage of this knife to ask this young Taoist nun's name. Zhen Yusheng and Chen Yunqi joked, making Chen Yunqi very embarrassed. Red face, bowed his head and walked out. Not much effort. Tao. Nuns set up refreshments. Invited Zhen Yusheng to use the tea. Zhen Yusheng asked them their names. A more elderly said, "I surnamed by called Yunxiu," and then introduced the 2 siblings, Chen Yunmian and Liang Yundong. Chen Yunqi did not eat tea with them. Zhen Yusheng felt disappointed. Zhen Yusheng did not see Yunqi come out and felt bored. He got up to say goodbye by Yunxiu strongly retained. Zhen Yusheng has no desire to do any more and leaves again disappointed. The next day afternoon, Zhen Yusheng, because of the thought of Chen Yunqi again to Luzuoan, went to buy Yunxiu. Liang Yundong and Chen Yunmian are there. Just do not see Chen Yunqi. Zhen Yusheng heart although very anxious, but embarrassed to ask. Female Taoist priests prepared wine and rice. By Yunsheng regardless of Zhen Yusheng willing or not, must ask him to eat. Zhen Yusheng because he still wanted to see Chen Yunqi. So he sat down. By this time it was already late and Chen Yunqi had not yet come. Zhen Yusheng again want to go. Bai Yunshen pulled his arm. Not let him go. Not much later light up the lamp and set up the wine shun. Yunmian at this time also left. Only Bai Yungsun and Liang Yundong accompanied Zhen Yusheng drink. Zhen Yusheng drank a few cups and said drunk. Cannot drink again. However, the 2 female Taoist priests repeatedly urged him to drink more. When Bai Yunsheng saw that Zhen Yusheng refused to drink any more, he asked Liang Yundong to go to find Chen Yunqi. Liang Yundong went. A moment back to say, Chen Yunqi refused to come. Zhen Yusheng, this time to go back. The day is already late. Bai Yunsheng and Liang Yundong pestered him all night, making him very impatient. At the dawn of the day, Zhen Yusheng sneaked away. Zhen Yusheng read Chen Yunqi every day, but because of the fear of Bai Yunsheng and Liang Yundong entanglement, and do not dare to go there. So from time to time in the vicinity of EP02 to spy on the news. One evening, Zhen Yusheng saw Bai Yunsheng, and a teenager went out. The heart of the heart is happy. Rushed to the EP02 in the look for Chen Yunqi. Chen Yunyan for Zhen Yusheng opened the door. Know that Liang Yundong also happened to go out. Chen Yunyan led Zhen Yusheng into a courtyard and shouted, "Chen Yunqi, the visitors are here." Chen Yunqi closed the door with a bang. Zhen Yusheng stood outside the window. Chen Yunqi saw that he looked like he had something to say, so he walked away alone. At this time, Chen Yunqi told Zhen Yusheng through the window that people here use it to seduce young people, and it is not good to come here often. At the same time, he spoke his heart's desire. Chen Yusheng proposed to Chen Yunqi, who agreed and asked him to prepare some silver taels to ransom him out in 3 years' time as a repayment to his master for raising him. What else does Chen Yusheng have to say? Express their feelings of adoration. But at this time Chen Yunqi came. Zhen Yusheng had to be reluctant to say goodbye to Chen Yunqi with Sheng, Cloud Corona together out of Ren Yusheng back to his grandmother's home. Thinking about not being able to talk to Chen Yunqi free of charge about the love of the bell, the bottom of the heart is very melancholy. Thinking about going to see Chen Yunqi again. At this time, it happens that someone at home to report that his father is seriously ill. Yan Yusheng had to rush back overnight. Ren Yusheng back home. His father has died. His mother on weekdays on his discipline is very strict. He did not dare to say the things in his heart and mother. So he had to save pocket money every day to save up. Ready to go to marry Chen Yunqi. Zhen Yusheng back home. There are a lot of people came to him to say that he was launching, is in mourning, inconvenient to marry. The days are long. Zhen Yusheng's mother is also anxious to give him to say that the Zhen Yusheng had to say that the previous time in Huanggang. He said that he was in mourning. He was not able to say that he was not able to say that he was not able to say that. Said, once upon a time in Huanggang. Grandmother once said to a girl surnamed Jin said to him as a wife. He was very satisfied with this marriage. Now, he would like to go to ask a question. If not to come back to say, Pro is not too late. Zhen Yusheng get mother. After permission. Take their own weekdays to accumulate down the silver to go to Huanggang. This day, Zhen Yusheng came to Huanggang Luzuoan nunnery. Now has been very desolate. None, only an old nun, cooking under the stove. Zhen Yusheng asked the old nun about Chen Yunqi and the 3 Taoist nuns. Zhen Yusheng heard the words of the old nun, cannot help but sigh. He then went to Huanggang County North Township to find Chen Yunqi. Encountered the nunnery, he inquired, but never probed the real news. Zhen Yusheng disappointed back home. He lied to his mother. Uncle said, Mr. Chen went to Yunxiu to wait for him to come back. There is news and then sent to tell after half a year. Mrs. Chen back to Huanggang to go home. He and Zhen Yusheng's grandmother to talk about the marriage of the Chen family. Grandmother did not know that there is such a thing. His mother was very angry. His grandmother thought it was Zhen Yusheng and uncle to discuss. Fortunately, this time the uncle is not at home. Did not make things through. One day Zhen Yusheng's mother to go on the Wolian Peak to pay back the wish. The night to live in an inn under the mountain. He just went to bed soon. The owner of the store to lead a Taoist nun to come in and he lived with the Taoist nun, himself said that the name of the Chen Yunqi. He heard that Mrs. Chen is yiling people. Sitting on the bedside of the lady. Said there is a cousin Pan Sheng and Mrs. Same hometown. Asked to pass a message. Said he sponsored the 7 Crane Guan Uncle Wang Daokang, where life is very bitter degree. Day such as the year does not come early. For fear of not seeing. Mrs. Chen asked Chen Yunqi what his cousin called. Chen Yunqi back said, I do not know. Just said he has entered the blood to the local showman to inquire about, want to be sure to find out. The next morning, Chen service people left the inn to go back. Chen Yunqi also repeatedly asked the lady on his behalf to pass a message to his cousin surnamed Tan. Mrs. Chen back to the home. The Chen Yunqi entrusted him with a message to tell Zhen Yusheng to help him to inquire about whether there is a surname of Pan Sheng here. Zhen Yusheng heard his mother's words, hurriedly kneeling in front of his mother, said that the surname Pan Sheng is him, and asked his mother to agree to their marriage. Mrs. Zhen heard Zhen Yusheng's words and was very angry and scolded. Zhen Yusheng is not learning outside, and will definitely cause trouble in the future. Friends laugh. Zhen Yusheng listened to hanging his head. Do not dare to say a word. After a short time, Zhen Yusheng, just a Huanggang to catch the examination. He took the opportunity. A person secretly hired a boat. According to Zhiqi, official patrol king to the city, inquiring about the whereabouts of Chen Yunqi. Zhen Yusheng from Huanggang back, because again did not find Chen Yunqi. The heart of the sullen, soon even sick. At this time, Zhen Yusheng grandmother died. Mrs. Zhen to Huanggang to send the funeral put back. Mrs. Zhen lost her way, so to a family surnamed Jin to ask for directions. This hostess happens to be Mrs. Zhen's own sister, and Zhen invited Mrs. Zhen to sit at home. Mrs. Zhen into the house, saw a young girl of 18 or 19 years of age, was born very beautiful. Mrs. Zhen has long wanted to find a good daughter-in-law to her son, so that her son's heartache this time ran into this beautiful girl. The heart is a little activity up. Mrs. Zhen to the army is to inquire about the girl's life through the world. Said the girl surnamed Wang is the niece of the Beijing family. His parents have died, and now temporarily live here. Mrs. Chen said to her sister that she wanted to redeem her son's marriage. And Yunxiu also thought it was good. But he said that this girl's character is very arrogant. Otherwise it would not be to this day, has not said in laws. So need to discuss with him slowly. That night, Mrs. Zhen stayed in Jin's house. At night, Mrs. Zhen and the girl to sleep with the night. The two talked very well. The girl also worshipped Mrs. Zhen as her stepmother. Mrs. Zhen was so happy that she asked her to go to Yiling with her, and she happily agreed. The next day, Mrs. Zhen and the girl returned home together. Zhen Yusheng's illness is not yet well. Mrs. Zhen, in order to make her son happy, so that his illness quickly, the old secretly sent a messenger to tell Zhen Yusheng said, to find him a good daughter-in-law back. Zhen Yusheng thought of their own a few times to find Chen Yunqi piece of flopping. Is it really not destiny? Heart is very sad, and thought of the agreement of 3 years has long passed. Perhaps he married his own, still eat and wait for what? After a few days, gradually better. Zhen Yusheng's disease gradually better. One day, Mrs. Zhen thought of letting Zhen Yusheng and this girl to meet. Then asked the girl, you know I asked you to come to my home, meaning? The girl smiled and said, no, but my mother does not know me. So together with the far story, this girl told Mrs. Zhen, when he was a child in Yiling, a surname Pan engaged. A long time no news. Now I think he must have married. If so, then he can do his old man's daughter-in-law. Otherwise still can only do his old man's daughter. The future, and then repay his old man's favor to him. Mrs. Zhen heard her words. Said that since the engagement has been made, naturally cannot be forced. And said that once upon a time to step into the Wuju mountain, like a Taoist nun, to ask him about Yiling, a surname of Pan Sheng. But there is no surname of this name here. This girl listened to Mrs. Zhen's words, ate a shock, then asked Mrs. Zhen is not in the Wolian peak under the inn lived, and said that the inquiring nun surnamed Tan is her. Mrs. Zhen heard this, remembered that once upon a time things do not realize that suddenly realized, and smiled and said that the surnamed Tan. Here, Mrs. Zhen shouted a girl to take her to see the Yusheng. The two of them to meet are subdued. Speaking of the past, Chen Yunqi realized that Zhen Yusheng said that his surname Pan was deliberately joking about him. Chen Yunqi embarrassed, and then talk about it. They rushed back to Mrs. Zhen. Mrs. Zhen is very happy. Son of their own to find such a good wife will ask Chen Yunqi, why the last name of the king again? Chen Yunqi said, his surname Wang, because the master of Anli like. He followed the master's name. Mrs. Chen Zhen found a good day to Zhen Yusheng and Chen Yunqi marriage. On this day, relatives and friends came to congratulate them, and many said they were an excellent couple. After the guests dispersed, the two talked about their respective encounters at night, and even shed tears of joy. Chen Yunqi was very filial to his mother-in-law, lived a frugal life, and also played the piano and chess. After he and Zhen Yusheng married, gave birth to a girl, 3 boys, the family gathered together and lived a very happy and joyful life.